Welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast, brought to you by the All About Pigeons nonprofit organization, which is dedicated to promoting education and promotion of the pigeon hobby. Every week, a listener requests to drive our conversations about all things pigeons. Join me, Philip Fry, as we learn and share stories about these incredible birds and this ancient hobby. Welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast, brought to you by the All About Pigeons nonprofit organization, which is dedicated to promoting education and promotion of the pigeon hobby. Every week, a listener requests to drive our conversations about all things pigeons. Join me, Philip Fry, as we learn and share stories about these incredible birds and this ancient hobby. Today we're going to be talking about the National Pigeon Association Junior Program. We have the N.P.A Junior Program Director, Lonny Mefferd, with us. So, Lonny, thank you so much for coming on and explaining this program.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Since we're kind of focusing on the junior side of things here, what was your own beginning with pigeons? Was that also at a young age?
Yeah, so my dad was Lonny Mefferd and served in many roles in the N.P.A, LAPC, different specialty clubs. But he had pigeons since he was 14. As a kid, I was in the coops since I was in diapers. So it's all pigeons have been in my blood since I was a kid.
Okay. What are some of the breeds that you currently breed right now?
My main breed that I've always had is flying Oriental rollers. But I also raise Birmingham rollers, West of England tumblers, horseman powders, Damascenes, Chinese owls. My daughter has some Vorbergs in the loft. And then I got a couple other breeds here and there. I just got rid of all of my Portuguese tumblers and cut back on a lot of breeds. But flying type Oriental rollers have always been my go-to. And West of England tumblers, I've had those since I was a kid.
And how long have you been a member of the National Pigeon Association?
I don't really know. Probably at least since I was maybe 18. I mean, I was a junior member. We moved around a lot as a kid, and so I didn't show as much, but I'd go to all the shows with my dad. Yeah, since I was a junior member, I've been involved in the N.P.A and the LAPC.
Your kids are, I'm guessing, are also junior members with the N.P.A.
They are, yeah. My
Yeah.
my youngest, Mia, is now she'll be 15 this year, so she's my last one. But my daughter Davina also showed until she was 18 and went off to college. And yeah, they've been involved. They love the birds, they love the shows, they love the fellowship at the shows with their friends. Cleaning the cages and feeding them, they don't like so much, but they definitely love the birds.
That's got to be the first rule for all kids, though, really. I
Oh,
mean,
exactly. If you want birds, you got to clean their cage. Like,
yeah,
it's dad's not going to do it all. You got to do it too.
that's the foundation. Yep. So, I mean, taking on any kind of officer role in any kind of a pigeon club, you got to have a passion for it, a care, a concern, something that drives you for it. What was it that made you really want to get into doing the junior program director?
Well, at first, I really didn't want to. I mean, I've always loved kids. I've always had, my kids involved in birds, and I know it's a big part. And but as the hobby keeps growing, kids in the hobby keeps getting smaller. I was the Los Angeles Pigeon Club junior director first, and then I came on board as the N.P.A junior director. Jerry Gagney asked me to be it. And at first I was like, no, I don't really want to, but I thought about it and I thought, you know what? I want the kids to have an experience at the show that they can remember and that it's going to want them to keep coming back. Even though it's hard to get a lot of kids at the shows, but the ones that are there, I wanted them to be part of something other than just, the main show where a lot of fanciers, don't pay too much attention to the juniors and their birds.
Can you kind of summarize like what the NPA junior program is all about, what its goal is?
So it's basically getting the kids involved in the birds, right? And we've been growing over the years with different things, different activities for them, but they get to bring their birds, and if they're raising their birds on their own, with the help of their parents or grandparents, their birds might not be in the best condition. They might not compete with some of the top breeders in the main show. So we have the junior show where they can come in and compete with other juniors. And then once they get picked, they can, learn more about it. The judges that we usually have that judge them are longtime fanciers that know about the birds. So they explain to the kids what they're missing, what they need to do, how they need to, maybe look for feather lice, maybe pluck certain parts of the birds, things like that. Just getting the kids involved where they can have their own area, where they can have their own setup, where they can feel like the show is part of their show, that they're part of the show as well.
Nice. Okay. What I'm really hoping for when people listen to this episode too is it kind of makes me think about. So Bob Nolan always says this about in the pigeon fancy, we all just kind of steal ideas from each other.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that someone will listen to some of the ideas that we're going to talk about and take away from it, because I do feel like there's a lot of things lacking for the junior side of things. The future of the hobby. When I was watching you guys at the Grand National, that was a big group of kids that you had over there, and you guys were really doing a lot of different things, and the judging aspect of it too. Does the N.P.A specifically have any kind of a way to bring in and train the judges, or is that just something that you guys are doing on your own, as far as like you were having the judges come over and explain how judging works, or is that just through you guys?
So the NPA, mostly with their specialty clubs, they take on like a breeding program, and to judge, like they'll start letting them judge, and then there's a lot of all breeds judges that just study the standard. I don't know if there is an actual program where people get literature or something where they can actually learn how to judge. That would be something maybe to look in the future. Have classes on judging. But for the kids, yeah, I try to I've been in the hobby for a long time, so I try to pick judges that I know have a personality that can talk to the kids and explain to the kids and show the kids. And then what I've been doing the last few years as well is bringing my former junior members in. I got quite a few juniors that are now in their 20s that are doing really well in the shows. And so I asked them if they can come alongside a veteran fancier just to help, judge, because they've been there 4 or 5 years ago, and they know what they want to hear, and they know what the kids want to see when it comes to their birds.
So that's interesting. So you've been doing this long enough to actually kind of see seen the members grow up into it. And have you had any kind of, pretty cool success stories out of that and seen some of these guys become pretty good breeders?
Oh yeah, just they just had the Los Angeles Pigeon Club Youngbird show on Saturday. I wasn't able to make it, but Justin Curl won, championship out of all the show with a Chinese owl, and he was showing junior high and high school with the juniors, and he would always do well with the juniors. We'd always have like a joke with my daughter Davina because they were around the same age. I'd be like, "Oh, Justin's here. You better bring your A game. You better get into it." It's great to see Justin out there. Vincent Pizzuto too. He's out there in Arizona with you, and he was one of my junior members for a long time. And it's great to see him at the shows. I've had him come and judge quite a few times at the pageant of pigeons for the kids.
Yeah, Vincent does the judging for a lot of our lawn shows out here, and he's one of the judges that we have a program for the Arizona Pigeon Club for training judges, and he's one of the teachers for that program as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of all the different events and everything, is there kind of a favorite that all the juniors like the most when it comes to the junior activities at the Grand National?
I don't know if there's a favorite. Some kids don't like showmanship, where they have to bring the birds and show, because they're still learning the parts of the bird. But I think that the favorite for all the kids is winning, just winning anything, because they have their birds in the main show, and they could go over there, and their bird might just get looked by and not picked, and then they come into the junior, and they can win, first place, second place, and that's a big deal. A little tiny trophy, a little plaque for a kid keeps the kids interested in the hobby, definitely.
There's confirmation and then there's showmanship, which I see a lot more of that in like the 4-H side of showing pigeons, where you're pulling the bird out. The judges are asking you questions about, hey, show me this, ask you questions about the bird. And you guys are doing that with the junior side of things, which, I really like. I think it's a good way to actually test the knowledge on it and, see how they actually handle the bird, make sure it's, their bird, not their, parents' bird or something like that. How long have you guys been doing that side of the showing?
We did showmanship for the first time. I don't remember the exact date, but the first year we had the Amarillo show. I had tried it in the Los Angeles Pigeon Club, pageant of pigeons with the kids, and they enjoyed it and they liked it. So we started showmanship then. I actually had a girl Morgan who was from Texas come out, and she had done a lot of 4-H and a lot of FFA, and she came out and she judged showmanship for the first year, and the kids really enjoyed it. They some of them didn't. They're not used to spreading out the wing for their bird. They're not used to, especially some of the bigger breeds. These kids have little hands, so if they're raising a bigger breed, it's hard for them to show. Like I always recommend to the kids, the smaller kids to get like a Portuguese tumbler or something small, a roller, a smaller breed that they can handle. But yeah, so we've been doing that for a few years now. It seems to work out. The kids seem to enjoy it.
You've been doing it since Amarillo, so I mean, yeah, it must be pretty well received.
Yeah, and I give the kids an option if they want to do it or not. Some kids don't want to do it, but I give them that option.
Overall, would you say that the junior program has been, steady? Has it been growing? Has it been declining? I mean, what's the overall health of the program?
So the overall health has really been kind of declining. I mean, in Oklahoma was quite a bit of kids. I see more like when we are out there in Texas and Oklahoma, further out, we do have more kids because there's more rural areas, so the kids can have birds. Here in Southern California, where I'm at, the junior hobby is definitely going downhill. A lot of homes, you can't have birds. You can't have any kind of animals, and so what happens is if the kids can't keep birds at their house, they don't get interested. And if the parents aren't involved, the main thing is if they have a parent or a grandparent, aunt or uncle, someone that raises birds, then that gets the kids involved. But if they don't have that person in their life, it's kind of hard to get the kids involved, really.
Yeah, like for them to just be able to have a loft on their own is what you're saying is the big struggle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm out here in the Fontana area and I can't keep birds in my house, so I have to have them at a friend's house. So, like, I can't be in the backyard with my birds every day. I go take care of them, drive over there after work and everything. But as far as, having the birds in my backyard, it's too many rules and regulations. Can't have them.
I mean, what do you think would be some ways to change that problem?
My dad always he always had this dream that to have a piece of property somewhere and for the kids to be able to have their own loft on, like a community loft, like people do community gardens. Now, that would take finances, that would take work, it would take a mentorship program, because a lot of parents don't want their kids to raise birds. One year I did a raffle at the pet convention in Costa Mesa, and I had a pair of West of Englands. I had a cage, I had a feeder, a water, everything, and every kid that walked by got a raffle ticket. And so I had their parents put their names, their numbers on it, and after the show, took the birds home and I started drawing raffle tickets. Well, every single parent I contacted, the kids were into the birds. They wanted the birds. The parents didn't want that responsibility. It was either, oh, we can't keep the birds at our house. Oh, we've changed our mind. And after 15, 20 contacts, nobody wanted the birds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that just showed me at that time I realized that the kids want to be involved in the birds, but their parents, whoever's their guardian, they don't want that responsibility. If they don't like the birds, and pigeons kind of have a bad rap, rats with wings, they poop all over everybody's cars. So when you say, oh, here, have some fancy pigeons, or have a flying pigeon, and they look pretty in the cage, but then the parents just don't want that responsibility. They have to instruct the kids to clean the cage. They have to instruct the kids to feed them water every day. They have to go to the feed store, pick up the feed. They have to spend the money out of pocket to get the feed. So I've just seen parents having an adult, a pigeon mentor in a kid's life would make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking right there when you were saying that. I was like, man, if there was some way to really pair them up, with a mentor. have that mentor, that pigeon fancier say, this bird in this part of the loft, that's your bird. Free rent for that bird in this nest bowl, you take care of them and stuff like that, or something along those lines too. That's crazy. So many no's after you're following up on that. That's
Yeah, it blew my mind. It was in Orange County, so it's a little different demographic out there. It's not really pigeon friendly. People don't really have chickens or animals, but the kids, the joy on the kids' face as they're walking through the hall, and just seeing these birds and getting to touch them. And we had baby birds out there, and you do some of that stuff, so the people have never seen a pigeon and they're just like, wow. And then you tell them about these different breeds, and look, this one has a crest on it. This one puffs up its chest. This one has feathers on its feet. People don't see that, and the kids were just ecstatic about it, and they loved it. And but the parents weren't so much.
that's where I really like the idea of, the how some schools are doing the racing lofts in schools and exposing the kids in that way. And it's still, it does always come back to, their guardians at that time to, but I do believe that when it comes to all the lessons that you can learn through animal husbandry with pigeons, you don't need 40 acres and cattle and everything. You could teach them all those animal husbandry things with something so much cheaper, pigeons. I know the cost of feed is up, but you don't need to have 200 pigeons. You can have a couple of pairs of breeding birds and, your kids can still learn those lessons. And I get it. It's a hard sell, especially if you're in an area that has a really strict HOA. And I mean, if you can't have birds, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know about keeping some in a cage inside a house either, because you're not going to be able to really do too much as far as cranking out some young for breeding and showing and stuff like that. But that is a tough one. That's a tough one to try to figure out. But the youth have a lot of things pulling on their attention these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, technology has really taken, made going outside and playing, until the street lights come on, a back seat. You don't see that as much anymore. You don't see kids in the backyard. And back in the days here in Southern California, everybody had pigeons. When I go out and release my homers training, every single time I do, I have someone come up to me and say, "Oh, old I used to raise pigeons when I was a kid," or I used to have pigeons, or I knew my neighbor had pigeons, and so people had pigeons, but nowadays, yeah, it's far and few.
I like to do my releases in pretty public places just to try to catch people's attention and hopefully drum up a conversation with it.
Oh yeah, no, every single time I do, someone wants to come up and look at them and be like, "What is that? What are you doing? Like, are they going to go home? What are they going to do?" So,
You've been in the pigeon game for a long time and, participated in clubs and different roles and stuff like that. For even just for small clubs, throwing some tips and advice out there. If you get some junior members in there and you get some parents that are willing to participate and support the youth in this, like what are some things that, you would recommend to the clubs to do to really, engage them, keep them there and, grow that youth side of the club?
well, first off, I would just to anybody listening, if you're going to give a junior member birds, give them quality birds. Give them something they can work with. A lot of times, people will give the kids their coals, and you can raise some good birds out of coals. I've done it before, but you want to give a kid a good foundation in the birds, and you want to instruct them and let them know what to do and how to take care of it. And every breed that we raise might not be suitable for a kid. If you raise African owls and you have to have foster, so now the kid has to have a couple different pairs of birds when he likes the African owls. So maybe turn them on to a different type of breed or show them something that a different color or something that they might like differently. But I say bottom line, it's all about just making the kids feel comfortable around the birds, teaching them to hold them, teaching them what to do, and making the kids feel comfortable around pigeon fanciers. You get a kid in a show and it's a bunch of older guys, and kids don't want to hang out with a bunch of older guys. And so if you can talk to the kids, share with the kids, make them feel special, learn their names. That's a huge thing, is when you see a kid maybe once a year at a show, and if you remember their name and you say, "Hey Joe, how you doing? Good to see you again." That makes a big deal to kids. It really does.
Yeah, another point too about you give someone some coals, you might just, cool, I just unloaded some birds, but if you give that person some good birds, you might be paying more attention to them and you might be willing to give them more advice on how to take care of them and following up with them. And you'll probably learn their name because you'll be talking to them a lot more, and just another reason to just get them something. And then if they breed them, and odds are they're going to have good birds, and then they win, like you're saying, when they love winning, it all just cycles back around to just definitely throw some good birds their way. I think that's another good point right there as well.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you want to start. No one ever wants to start off either showing or flying anything in any kind of hobby with junk. You know, you want to get the best that you can. You know, and I'm all about giving kids birds. You know, don't charge them anything. Give the kids birds, and you know, and then follow up with them. You know, you give a kid a pair of birds, be like, well, here's my phone number. Give me a call when they have babies. Let me know what they're doing. You know, like follow
Mhm.
up with the kids and figure it out. You know.
Yeah, give them some books on how-to stuff, reference stuff like that, old magazines. You've already read through the purebred pigeon or whatever you got, throw some magazines their way to help them sort through and look at other breeds. I mean, I think that's always good to throw their way too. That's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to, you know, for all the pigeon fanciers, when you see a junior at the show, stop and ask them their name. Ask them what kind of birds they like. You know, this last Oklahoma show, there was a lot of kids there that came on Saturday when we were tearing down, but they were looking at the birds and I'm asking them, hey, you know, do you raise birds? And no, but do you like the birds? Oh yeah, you know, and if their parents are bringing them to the show, then their parents have a little bit of interest too. So that'd be something to spend that little, you know, a few minutes with a kid can make a big deal at these shows. And for the judges as well, if you're judging and there's a kid there, even if it's not his breed or not his bird, let the kid bring the kid up and let him see what you're doing and explain to him like, here, this is why I'm putting this bird second, or this is why I'm going to pick this bird because of these qualities, and the standard of this bird is this, and that's why I'm going to do it. If the kids get more interested, the more knowledge they learn, the more they will want to be into the bird.
What would you say would be some good things to kind of ease the parents into the whole idea of allowing their kids to be a part of this hobby?
I don't know, strong arm them, make them do it. No.
Oh, right.
You know that's a hard one because you know there's two types of people in this world, people that love animals and people that don't.
Mm,
And if you don't have that passion for animals, if you don't have that love, I don't think that's something that can be taught. You know, kids it can be taught to, but as far as adults, like if you weren't raised up with dogs or cats, or you know had a parakeet or any kind of animal, you know it's not really in your DNA to want to keep birds. So I think if a parent, you know, a lot of parents will take their kids, you know, travel ball, softball, baseball, soccer, and they'll put so much time, money, and effort into that. And I think if a parent could see the potential of raising pigeons to you know better their child's future, then I think they might want to put some effort into it. And it's hard to explain the life skills that you know to parents. You tell them, hey, this is teaching a kid responsibility. They're keeping something alive. They're making sure it's fed and watered every day. You know,
right.
they're making sure it's clean. They're making sure it has a domain. They're making sure they're have a schedule to go to a show to show this bird, and they're learning responsibilities like that. And then even with the N.P.A junior program, we have college scholarships, you know, that we give out as well. So it's not just like, okay, the kids you know, get to high school and it's like no big deal. It's like no, they can apply as they grow up and they go to these different shows and they apply for a college scholarship and they can have some extra money to help them go through school.
Wow, I didn't even know about that. Can you talk a little bit about that college scholarship?
Yeah, so basically you go online and there's a on the website and there's criteria, at least it should be, it used to be, but there's criteria on there that you have to you know fill out, and you have to basically introduce yourself. You have to say, you know, how many shows you showed in, you know, what breeds you raised. You gotta give a copy of your report card, you know, that and just basically if we when we get those applications, we see that yeah, this kid, you know, wants to go on with life. This kid's been at these national, look, this kid won at these local shows. This kid showed at two nationals, so they were involved in the pigeon hobby. And then we award them the scholarship, and it ranges from, you know, $1,000 to a couple $1,000 depending on how many scholarships are there. And that's why we do the auction. every year, because that money goes into the junior program directly. So it goes into providing awards, but the main money that goes out is to for the scholarships. Because thousands of dollars can be distributed every year if kids apply for scholarships. But like last year, we had no kids applying for scholarships.
Okay, so it just goes right back in the pot then.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
there in a separate account, just waiting for the kids. Yeah, and the kids can use that money for, books, for room and board, whatever they feel they want to use that money for, they can. But they definitely have to be, someone that's involved in the hobby. They can't just be the neighbor's kid that, has a couple birds in their backyard.
That's really cool. I mean, yeah, you guys are really you're staying on top of it and checking report cards and seeing if they're showing and everything else. I think that's fantastic, man. That's really cool. And that auction, man, that auction was that was like kind of a main event sort of a thing at the Grand National. That was pretty wild. Some really, really good birds in there too. I got a question about that auction. So those birds are actually like birds that were actually shown at the Grand National, because some of those were like some of the best birds in their breed too, right?
So basically, there's usually, 10, 15 people that are, great in their breeds, and they always donate a good pair, or they'll bring a couple birds, put in the show, and that bird could be their grand champion, but they've already said, "Hey, I'm going to donate it to the junior auction." And so, they stick by their word, and so you never know what you're going to get. But yeah, we keep it to quality birds, so it can raise funds. And yeah, if anybody wants to donate some birds to the auction, you can get with me, or you can talk to Amy, or any of the board members and of the N.P.A, and they can direct you what to do when it comes to showtime.
And the variety too, just a little bit of everything, but definitely there was some really high quality birds there at the auction. That was a lot of fun to watch too.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and we're coming up against the clock here. But anybody wants to check out more information on the National Pigeon Association, check out their website, npausa.com. Find all kinds of information on there too. They're on Facebook too. Find all the information you want for there for the junior program as well. And Lonnie, I want to thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the N.P.A, for the pigeon hobby, and thanks for coming on the show and talking about it today. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you and everything you're doing. You're making a big impact, and it was great meeting you at the National, and I hope to see you out there in Oklahoma again.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to another ad-free, listener-requested episode of the All About Pigeons podcast. If you like the show and want to help it keep it going, as well as supporting your other pigeon promotional work, head to the website PigeonPod, that's pigeonpod.com. You can make a donation there. If you can't make a donation today, support the show by giving us a good 5-star review wherever you're listening to us at right now. That really helps the podcast and helps the algorithm get us out there to other people who might not know about Pigeon Podcast. If you have any episode requests, upcoming pigeon shows, competition results, or you want to be a guest on the show and just talk about some pigeons, or you have a shout out for a friend, shoot us an email at staff@pigeonpod.com. Thanks again for listening. We really appreciate your support, and remember, together the hobby thrives. Support each other and enjoy your pigeons. Thank you for listening to another ad-free, listener-requested episode of the All About Pigeons podcast. If you like the show and want to help it keep it going, as well as supporting your other pigeon promotional work, head to the website PigeonPod, that's pigeonpod.com. You can make a donation there. If you can't make a donation today, support the show by giving us a good 5-star review wherever you're listening to us at right now. That really helps the podcast and helps the algorithm get us out there to other people who might not know about Pigeon Podcast. If you have any episode requests, upcoming pigeon shows, competition results, or you want to be a guest on the show and just talk about some pigeons, or you have a shout out for a friend, shoot us an email at staff@pigeonpod.com. Thanks again for listening. We really appreciate your support, and remember, together the hobby thrives. Support each other and enjoy your pigeons.